Welcome. It's your boy Novazida ENT back with another react. Had to put the quarter zip on for this one. Wear a lot of quarter zips because I'm old. I'm 40 years old. But I think this video, uh, if you don't know who I have up here, Antonio and Young Don, two young cats in the game who've been doing it for a long time. Well, Young Don has. Antonio's really new, but he's been taking off, right? The quarter zip respectability politics things has been so interesting to me. Maybe it's because I'm older. Um, I agree with almost everything that both of them have said in their respective videos. I'm gonna link the Young Don video in there. He's got a link to the Antonio one. We're gonna do a little reactception over here. And I really only have a couple things I disagree with in this video, but I think it's an age thing, right? Because Antonio he does a really good job of standing on business, but sometimes he's kind of inconsistent, right? And he did this in his Black Nerd video that I'm gonna react to at some point. Trust me, when if you want to go ahead and put me level zero coon for critiquing black people, that's on you. That's your world. I love what they got going on. I like that, but and while I agree with a bunch of stuff in this video, there's a couple things that I think that they need to be consistent on. So I'm gonna put my little spin on it. I'm gonna start the video. I got the bullet points here. Like I recorded my last one, raw, uncut, unfiltered, and I try to learn as I go. Right. So just bear with me. Let's get to where we need to go. Let's go ahead and kick it out. Let's get it popping. Oh wait, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna kick this off. Start it. See what we got going.
I didn't know, like a business meeting. Of course, I'm going to wear.
We're gonna start it back from the beginning. I already watched through this whole thing to kind of get my bullet points. So obviously it's not gonna start straight from the beginning.
They're going to view you
Right.
either way.
Yeah. You could be a black man in a suit driving a Mercedes-Benz AMG to that cop making fucking 80 grand a year. He couldn't give less of a shit. In fact, it actually pisses him off more. He'd treat you better if you look more like a nigga. And so, if anything, it might piss him off more when they pull you over and you're driving that fucking Lexus and your fucking stupid quarter zip. Who the fuck you think you are? Real Sperry's you got on? Like, where the fuck are your Jordans?
Now, if you wear Sperry's, ain't nothing wrong with that. I don't. I do wear Jordans and New Balances, as you can see from the collection I got back there.
Quarter zips and respectability politics. Video by Antonio Talks. Okay, let's dive into this one. You know, we spoke about the topic of respectability politics in my response to Antonio's video where he spoke about sexy red. And I called attention to the fact that respectability politics is something that actually works as a disservice to black people. Now, if you don't know what respectability politics is, I'm sure Antonio is going to explain it in this video. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Young black men are finally waking up. They ditching the ghetto, trashy streetwear and are finally assimilating with society.
Oh, yes.
Now, hold on. Just in case you're one of those people who take it literally, if you're not watching the video, he's being satirical. He's going. I just want to make sure because I already gonna come off the wrong way if you think that he's being serious in what he's saying right now. You can see the look on his face. Look at the smirk. You can see Don. Just keep that in mind.
I ain't gonna count. These brothers clean.
Fresh to death.
Clean as hell. Hey, fresh. Got the matcha in their hand, all right?
We don't do Nike Tech. We don't do coffee. The straight quarter zips and matchas around.
Right.
Quarter zips and grass.
You want a Nike Tech to come outside.
Right.
What are you doing? You upgraded in like you wear glasses now. You wear quarter zips. I don't do Nike Tech.
Exactly.
Talk to us. Talk to us.
Yesterday I was in the hood. Today I'm wearing this sweater. Lake Street game. Change your life. Game. Put the take down.
Tech down. Quarter zips up. Word. Quarter zips and stop.
Zips up. So I like and dislike this trend. I love seeing young black men getting out of their comfort zone and trying new outfit styles. As you go through this trend, you just see how, as black men, we be killing the fashion game. Anything we put on, we don't look stiffy in. Now, what I dislike, and hear me out, okay? Hear me out. It's low-key anti-black. Just even the fact that these quarter zips, which is associated with white culture in a way, it's already put on a higher pedestal than streetwear, which is associated with black people.
If I see a black guy walking up to me in a quarter zip sweater, wearing Ralph Lauren, drinking matcha, I'm thinking, well, the matcha kind of throws shit off a little bit. It's a kind of liberal drink, but besides the matcha, I'm thinking this guy's MAGA.
This time and time again, but
So this is where the first instance of like it could be an age thing, comes up, right? Like just a little background, I'm from the Nap. I still live in the hood that I grew up in, that I was born in. I don't think it's a positive thing to say, oh, I live in the hood, I'm from whatever. But I'm a big proponent, and you need to be able to fix. You don't leave, you fix, right? If you, I know whenever I talk to people in real life, one of the instances that we have where we get into a lot of tussle is I respect people less who move out of the hood to where the white man's ice is colder because they don't want to spend the time to fix what we have here, right? We all went to the same schools, we all go to the same stores, and they don't think it's important enough to be a part of the solution, which you can fix in one generation, right? Like just to give you a little math, right? The school my kids go to, you know, 200 people graduate from that school every year. Not that many, whatever, right? But the school 5 minutes down the road is 800 kids, right? If those kids got jobs and then stayed around here, let's say there's 3,000 vacant houses in the area within 3 graduating classes. Obviously, give it a couple of years because they have to go through college and then come back, right? If they choose to go to college, if they choose to go to the trades, you would fill all those homes up with people who aspire to be something more. But instead, those people get jobs still here in the city a lot of the times, and they move to the far east, west, north, and south because they don't want to be a part of the solution. I don't respect people like that. I'm much more Malcolm X than I am Martin Luther King. But what I don't agree with what they just said, right, is that there is something to be said. I'm gonna let them get a little bit more into it, right? If it's 11 o'clock at night and you see 4 niggas in Nike Techs and Shiesties at the gas station, I know this isn't specifically what they're talking about. I want to give it what I hear, and this is how the world works. Perception is reality, right? 4 niggas in Nike Techs and Shiesty masks at the gas station at 11 p.m. I don't want to go to that gas station. That hurts that business. That hurts the area around it. Because if someone's coming in from out of town or out of the area, they know they don't stop in this area because there's 4 niggas with Shiesty masks and Nike Techs outside. But if you got the same people, because in Antonio's Black Nerd video that I'll react to later, he talks about like it's how you carry yourself. Because I'm in agreement, man. I was weird in high school. I was Naruto running down to high school. Naruto was still a manga back then, right? But I was Naruto running down the halls. I wore the same Jinko jeans every day. I could understand why people weren't into me, right? Now that I'm older, because it was how I carried myself, but it's also how I presented myself. I presented myself as someone who looked weird. You can be weird and not look weird. They're presenting themselves as street niggas about to accost you when you enter the gas station. You're not going to go there. And he said, "Oh, streetwear, formal wear. Nigeria has formal wear. Estonia has formal wear. Kazakhstan has formal wear. They don't necessarily align to white standards. Now, don't get me wrong, everybody wears a suit when they come together. But I've seen, the president of Nigeria. Say what you want about that. He wears traditional Nigerian robe, garments in a public setting, a formal setting, because they have that, and that's their version of formal. You can understand the difference between niggas wearing streetwear casually and a nigga going to work at a business and wearing streetwear and saying, "Oh, well, this is just my culture." You got to understand the difference between that, and that's why I say it's an age thing. I'm much more likely to buy a home from somebody who's dressed like this than somebody who's got a bonnet on. Like, I wear a bonnet to go to sleep. If I wear a bonnet to my job with a sweater on, you're not gonna take me seriously. You might chop it up with me, and I can impress you later, but your initial viewpoint is going to be what it is. And you gotta kind of, society should change, sure, but you also got to operate within reality.
Everything that black people do is always deemed ghetto until white people do it. So
Right.
with this trend, they're like denouncing Nike Techs, which by the way costs more than these quarter zips. It's
Yeah.
put down as for ghetto people and less than people, while the quarter zips are higher up, which is an example of how society already does black people. Anything that is associated with black culture is negative, and get rid of it. Don't do it. It's the
Of
same
course.
reason why in the corporate world you can't have dreads or you can't wear your hair in certain ways. It have to be low cut, and it's like, why is that? Whose standard is that by?
Now, I do agree with them, and this is kind of where I want to go on the other end of what I'm saying. Like, if you have dreads in the corporate world and you work with other black people, they're not going to worry about that. This is where my Malcolm X versus Martin Luther King problem comes in. Grow your business with people who look like you or who have a similar background. I don't care when people say like, "Oh, you should want to be able to go anywhere." Yeah, it's not. It's not the way the world works. You go where you want it. You go where you're celebrated. If a person has dreads and they're a doctor, they should be treated the same. Should be treated the same as a clean cut, and by clean cut I mean, but low fade, no beard, woo, whatever. If I like me personally, if I went at my doctor had dreads and tattoos, I'd feel more comfortable because that's how I look. But if the vast majority of people look how, you know, buzz cut or whatever, then they're going to feel that way. That's why when white people say like, oh, he looks like a hippie, he looks whatever, they have their own lines of delineation between what they consider business and professional. It's just easier for them because they can relate to that, you know.
We know whose standard it is. And I love using this picture right here as an example of what America wants. With the Native Americans, you see on the left how they were originally. Through assimilation, this is how they want you to be. Anything that is a part of your culture, abandon it and just consume ours, you know? And then also, it's like you can dress up in both ways, but for different occasions. If I'm going to the store to get groceries, my nigga, I'm not putting on a fucking suit. I'm going to wear a hoodie. I'm going to wear some sweatpants, some slides. I'm going to be comfortable. Now, if I'm going to a wedding or like a business meeting, of course, I'm going to wear a suit. I'm going to be more professional. This just reminds me of a trend that was going around on TikTok. It's always anti-black trends going around. Oh, I'm not Hellcat black. I'm this type of black. And it's like, what the does that mean? And like, if you are that type of person who wears suits on regular day basis, then fine.
If it's popular with black people, then it's bad. That's essentially the logic. When you boil it all down, there is nothing when whoever designed these Nike techs, whoever designed the fucking SRT Hellcat, they weren't making that shit for niggas.
They probably didn't think we could afford it. The Hellcat anyway, you know.
Those products were made for white people, I'm sure. When the guy was designing it, he was imagining a white model wearing it. He was imagining a white guy driving that Hellcat SRT, you feel me, in that commercial. But because it became popular with black people, well, now it's ghetto. Very simple.
Because I know people like that, and that's them. Also, you have people like me who would prefer more streetwear type of clothes. It doesn't change the person that I am. I still operate the same way. I'm very respectable. I'm very well-mannered. I'm going to still get the job done. But to hold this person to a higher standard because he dresses more, you know, professional than me is crazy, because guess what? I'm still going to get the work done probably even better than him. So these are the two dudes from the other video. But as y'all can see, I know this is just a joke, but they're like looking down on the...
Now, I'm actually going to agree with, I don't like, you don't have to disparage one to lift another. You know, a rising tide raises all boats. It is crazy for them to say, "Oh, we don't do Nike tech." Now they're joking, right? But there's a level at which the best example I can give you guys, in a couple years, people won't remember. I say this with a grain of salt, like people won't remember what happened with Charlie Kirk clearly because all the memes, all the rappers, whatever. There's pictures of people and of Charlie Kirk, the Kirkified memes, where he's a rapper doing whatever, and AI's gotten so good that it's on the face. I've seen other countries who aren't privy to what we have going on here go like, man, I've been seeing this rapper. He seemed like he do everything. I wish I. Obviously, it's, you know, when you see things instantly, you don't think to save them. But there are people in other countries who are unaware of our politics who think that Charlie Kirk at some level was a rapper, like was a drill rapper, and that's crazy to me, right? But because the joke has gotten so many levels past the original thing, it has become the fact, right? Like, you know, it's the pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That saying was originally made as a joke. Person was like, because you can't do that. You cannot pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's supposed to be a commentary on how stupid it is to think that anybody can just get themselves out of any situation if they try hard enough. You need help. You need somebody else to help you pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But conservatives took that and it got so far from the point that now pull yourself up by your bootstraps is the saying. It's a positive, right? Like, so the fact that they're saying like the joke is, oh, we wear quarter zips. That's funny. It's funny. A week from now, people will be wearing quarter zips and saying people who wear Nike Techs are hood. They live in the past, right? Even though you could just wear a quarter zip and a Nike Tech. You don't have to disparage one to lift another up. So I do agree with that one.
Do with the Nike Tech. They are dressed business casual, and you know they feel better. Similar to how a lot of white people look down on black culture and think that black culture is bad. Do y'all kind of get where I'm going? All right.
Negro, please. Did somebody tell you this was an all-white party? Huh?
Yeah.
Someone get this boo or what?
What did you? Wait a minute. I'm white.
At first, I thought I was tripping, but a lot of people do feel the same way as me. But, clearly. You know, maybe we just, I don't know.
The quarter zip Nike Tech meme is literally just textbook classism. I was gonna let y'all have y'all fun with this shit,
until I heard somebody say that the CIA is upset with the black community for wearing quarterzips. You think the CIA, the people who are resorted to putting drugs into our communities, undermining our leaders, and getting fathers out of the household, really give a fuck that you're conforming to white standards of professionalism?
Right.
No. Thank you. Summed it up. I don't want this video to be misconstrued. If you like quarter zips and you like dressing up a certain way, dress that way.
Yeah. Right.
But you
For
can
sure,
have
for
it
sure.
both ways, man. You can dress
Yeah,
up.
the big thing is when you don the costume for the sake of getting white approval. That's really what it all comes down to. You want to be seen as more professional, aka you want to be, more comfortable, or you want white people to be more comfortable when they're around you, because for whatever reason, your culture scares them, and so when they see things like dreadlocks, when they see things like, or rather, dreads, I should say, Nike Techs, Jordans, do-rags, everything that just says black culture, it frightens them. It makes them scared. And so you putting that shit on, if that's what you're doing for the sake of getting their approval, well, two things. You will never get their approval. Once upon a time, there was no such thing as hip hop. Once upon a time, there was no such thing as street culture or street fashion. Black men wore suits and ties everywhere because that's just what men in America did. And
They
guess how
still
they were
burn down
treated?
Tulsa.
Yeah. Yeah. So stop it. Stop trying to do things to please them because they hate you. They hate you. I'm talking about the white supremacists, of course, not just every white person. The white supremacists, they hate you.
And it's crazy that he has to do the bean soup problem, right? Like, for him to say it's not all people, you've got to remember, if something offends you and you're able to see yourself in that problem, that's let's throw this back to the all lives matter, black lives matter discourse. Now, I have a lot of strong opinions on organization versus ideal, whatever. But the point I'm going to get across with this, right? If I say to somebody, I never said it, but if I said like, oh, black man was killed, yeah, and somebody say, yeah, black lives matter, oh, yeah, for sure, right? And then somebody came up in that conversation, it was like, white lives matter too. Two things. One, the only answer anybody should go is like, yeah, for sure. But we're talking specifically about this right now. Do you have an example we can talk about afterward? Because probably not, right? They're not thinking of anything. They just heard this and they're having a reaction to that, right? Because if someone said like, oh man, I can't believe this black man got killed by the police. Oh man, my uncle got killed by the police. Oh my God, let's talk about this and that. Both of these things should be discussed because great, that dialogue is great. For them to go like, well, what about that? There's no reason it has to be a what about, right? There's no reason you should be doing anything for the approval of others. There's no reason why you can't have two things at once. If our fashion goes this way and their fashion goes this way, and I don't mean in a monolith, I mean if your fashion is this, your fashion is this, you've got to understand if you live in the real world, like the Amish have a set of formal clothes and they have a set of everyday clothes. We would consider their everyday clothes. I work in construction. I see the Amish all the time. Their everyday clothes is pretty formal, right? But that's what they consider casual. Then they have their formal dress. I'm not saying anything disparaging about the way they dress because that's the way they dress. It will be weird for me to say that. So if other people do that, don't worry, they're gonna do it themselves. Like the thing I think that these kids are not realizing, and like I said in my last video, or in the video before that, is when I'm speaking to a primarily black audience. I'm black. I know black people. I speak to black people mostly. I don't mind if my stuff makes it to the white audience because I have a lot of stuff that everybody can relate to, right? But when I speak as if the nuance is already understood by black people. It's when it leaks outside of that the joke becomes reality. Like we understand the joke of the quarter zips, Nike Techs is funny. We're enjoying ourselves. But there's some conservative, and I'm not going to say just conservative, right? There's some unintentional white person, right? Mexican person, Asian person, what have you, at home, who's just like, yeah, 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 yeah. Every time I see a Hellcat, it's a Nike Tech guy getting out of there. I do have to worry about that. Or he's just like, yeah, my buddy, great guy. He doesn't wear Nike Techs. So that must be the standard that I hold everybody to. It's when it leaks outside of your audience that it becomes a problem.
And it is the white supremacists that need you to abandon your culture for them to feel comfortable around you. We tried it. They hung us from trees. They put dogs on us. They hosed us down with fire hoses. That's what they did when you tried to play the part to the best of your ability. And so you think now in 2025, when America is the least racist that it's ever been, which, depending on how you look at it, isn't really saying a lot, but it is still factually the case. It is the least racist it's ever been. You think now is when you need to pull out the suit and tie?
Professional, you dress that way. Yeah. But you can have it both ways, man. You can dress up professional. You can dress up in streetwear. Like, it doesn't have to be. Yeah. I'm a quarterzip type of guy.
I'm gonna skip
Strictly
ahead
black
because
wear.
there's a point that I have a really good story about coming up.
Coming are reflected in what we are seeing now. Almost 20 idea that history doesn't repeat itself, but it most definitely rhymes.
Right.
Has never been more evident as it is today. If we look back at the '08 recession, it's crazy how much of the signs of it coming are reflected in what we are seeing now, almost 20 years later. We can start with the quarterzips, which is not a bad trend by any means, but it reminds me of when everybody was going to parties and clubs wearing business casual in the early 2000s. A lot of people argue that trend started based on the club discrimination that we often still see today. Like, if a club doesn't want black people, they usually can't just say that. But they can ban what they think black people like to wear.
Right.
Now, this is the age thing, right? And now it could be because my bias is that I'm older than them. I was 20. I was in my 20s when this happened, right? And they're surprised by it. Like, young adults like, what? No, I was around for it. I can give you the exact story that where I said, like, it doesn't matter what you dress like. It matters who you are from the outset. And this is why I don't go to please. My goal is to please my audience, my people, the people that I consider important. I'm not worried about anything anybody else has going on, right? Me, remember, I know mostly black people, right? But me, I'm not gonna say any names. Me, one of my buddies, one of my other buddies, another buddy, white guy, right? So it's 5 black dudes, white dude. We go to the club. Bouncers are black. Everybody going to the club. It's downtown, so it's gonna be a mix of people. But we read the sign on the door and it says, you know what it is, no sagging pants, no sneakers, belts, or whatever, right? And we had run into this once before, and this is before we really kind of understood what they were trying to do. So we went there once before, couldn't do. All right, cool. So we went to a dive, enjoyed ourselves, had fun. But the women in there were looking pretty good, So you want to be around good women when you're drinking. That you may or may not. This is just the experience that we had, right? And just a good time, good atmosphere. So we come ready next time. We got belts on. We're wearing dress shoes, jeans up into our balls. Like, what I'm saying? Just making sure we're on our thing. But one of our other buddies was coming from work. White guy was coming from work. Backwards hat. He did have a quarter zip on, but he was wearing slacks and, some Jordans. Comes up. He's behind us though, right? Like, he's not in the group. So, like, technically, because he came after us, right? So we go up. I get let in. One of my other buddies gets let in. The last buddy, his jeans are really baggy, like Janko style jeans, but they're still jeans. So we thought he still has a belt on, still has good shoes on, wearing a quarter zip, everything's good, right? He doesn't get let in. So we're like, look, we're not coming in. You let all us in, you're not letting us in. You're letting him in. What's the problem? Like, oh, his jeans are too baggy. Like, you know what? We're not going to get into a fight with y'all. There's plenty of other places that want our money. We don't want to spend money where our money's not wanted. Understood. You just lost 5 patrons. I know you don't care. Maybe the owners might, but we don't have time for this. We're going to go enjoy ourselves. Our white buddy gets up 3 people later. Remember, backwards hat on, baggy jeans, baggy slacks, tennis shoes. Let him right in. And then he goes, wait, why'd you let me in, but you let my boy in? Like, what? It's like, he's got on everything, and he's also got baggy jeans on. I've got baggy slacks. Why didn't you let him in? Because, our buddy, ain't no smoke is nothing to him. You know what I'm saying? When you defending your buddies. So he made him stand up on it. He said, hey, why would you let me in but not him? What it was different? I even got a backwards cap on. And the boy was like, man, you know how it go. He goes, tell us. And I said, now we're all like, yeah, tell us. How'd it go? How it go? And he's uncomfortable, but it's like, we get it. You made an anti-nigger policy. We understand that there's a subsection of niggas, right? Who, when they go into a place, they're going to make the time worse. If you be remiss and disingenuous to know that, to not acknowledge that that's true, right? It happens at white bars. There's white bars where everybody's getting into fights. They're rowdy. You do avoid those bars. The same thing exists in black people spaces too. The difference is that since we're a minority, it's exacerbated. It's louder. It's more televised. It's more known because it's misunderstood. It's like, you know, we think all the Chechenians, every Chechen is in the UFC. If you would let me believe it, because every Chechenian, Dagestani, seems to be an incredible UFC fighter. They're probably just a regular accountant. There's probably just a regular guy who works at a supermarket. But all I know is that Dagestanis and Chechenians are really good at fighting, so they're all in the UFC. And the bouncer was, "Woo, whatever, man, don't even worry about it. We're gonna go shop somewhere else." And we go shop somewhere else. Thank God that place is closed now because that's what you want to happen. You don't want to make them take your money. You want them to go out of business. And they are fantastic. That justice was served. So I was around for the assimilation, the club business casual, where we tried to overcorrect instead of making our own spaces. And that's kind of what I mean. Like, we don't need their spaces. The quarter zip phenomenon should be made for us. If you enjoy a quarter zip, that's great. Wear it, enjoy it, but do not wear it to seem more professional to them. Now, if you're saying it makes me feel more professional, that's one thing. But just remember who's going to be watching these and who's going to catch up on these trends.
Thus the business casual in the club. And that marked the time period of the Great Recession, like what a lot of people like to call recession pop did. Recession pop was the music that was coming out around that time. Big LMFAO, Flow Rider, early Kesha, early Lady Gaga, Nicki Minaj's whole first album, and even early Soulja Boy. But the idea that the demand for escapist, high energy party songs with a fun or outright positive vibe would go up at a time when your average American would value an escape from a day-to-day life being heavily influenced by the economic downturn that caused the foreclosure, divorce, and unemployment rates to spike at that time. That's where they get the idea or the concept of recession pop from. And I'd argue, based on a few factors, that a lot of Americans, though for different reasons, feel like that today. And if you still don't believe we're seeing the signs of what's to come in these recession indicators, you're sitting here like, what does any of this prove? Know that Subway brought back the $5 footlong. Not without inflation, but they brought it back. Mind you, I was a seventh grader when they came out with that the first time, back in 08. My mom worked and would get home after me. Needless to say, there was more than a few $5 footlong nights during the week, and it made sense. Subway still wanted revenue while Americans had less money to spend.
Right.
Americans had less money to spend due to the recession. What was the point of this video again? So although this quarter zip trend, this dude right here is very
Okay, Antonio.
It's very
I get it though. I respect it.
It's funny, and also
I be feeling myself too.
Young black men dressing out of their comfort zone. I'm not gonna lie, it's anti-black, but hear me out first. Throughout history, anything that black people have done, it's always connected to negativity or it's bad. And this does apply to the way we dress, streetwear, Jordans, etc. My thing is with this trend, it's like you're putting on, a quarter zip, which is probably more corporate, and then you denounce, a Nike Tech, which is associated.
And notice how it's not just about incorporating the quarter zip into your wardrobe. It's about destroying and doing away with the shit that resembles black culture. That's what it's really about. The quarter zip is just the placeholder. It's not even about the quarter zip. It's about getting rid of the Nike Tech.
Black people. And it's so stupid because you can literally just wear both.
Quarter zip movement is doing more for the black community than the Black Lives Matter movement ever could.
Yeah,
and I would like to take this time to remind y'all that respectability politics will never save.
Who grew up in the South, the racist.
Okay, that's mostly what I'm gonna comment on those two things, right? Antonio said a very poignant thing when he said, like, you don't have to. It's a level zero coon point, not what he said. It's a level zero coon point, right? Where if it's black, it's inherently worse. And this is what I mean by like how trash pandas and Sly Coopers, random. I told you I've been watching your stuff, right? As Sly Coopers get on this little trail, right? You can tell that they're going to get to that point because they're right here, right? They're saying like, hey, if we want to be considered taken more seriously, we should adopt more things that they would take seriously. But the second thing should be like, until we get our own. We get our own, then we operate how we are. Sometimes you got to pay to play. Sometimes you got to play the game if that's what your route is. But we have to have our own stuff. We have to have our own style. We don't do everything to be complicit in what they have going on. Where conservatives lose their way, right? This is why I say, like, when someone says they're Republican, I don't really mind that. Small government, I'm more small government than I am big government. I get that. The problem where you lose me is when someone says a conservative, right? Because they picked a point in time in which they think that life was right. And you cannot have conservative legislation without regressive politics, right? You can't have a point in time locked in without stopping everybody else from gaining so you can feel comfortable at a certain point. That's where the conservatives lose me because they're saying, well, again, I get it because we're not in their politics. That's what the black conservatives kind of lose sight of. They're if you told a white conservative, a rural white conservative, what year was great, it will not involve a year in which you had the ability to get things done. So when you do things, it's okay to adopt things from. That's the great thing about being American, right? And that's what makes our culture so pervasive to other people, especially Black Americans. It's because we have resources, ability, we're loud, boisterous. People want to be successful, and we exude success. Don't lose sight of what made you successful in order to capitulate to what somebody else has going on. That's why I said, like, there's most of the stuff in this video I can absolutely relate to and agree with. The only things I don't like, or I just, and this is going to be an absolute statement that's kind of funny, but I don't like when people speak in absolutes, or when they don't remember points that they made in a different video. Antonio said in a different video that the reason why black nerds have a big problem is that they don't carry themselves past their hobby. Like they don't they embrace the whole nerd aesthetic and don't just, man, just be yourself. Like, so you can still do the stuff you like and be a nerd. But that is also discounting the fact that why is it important for them to look a certain way to not exude the thing they have going on? And I know he doesn't mean it that way. That's the whole point of this video, was like, hey, I agree with everything they're saying, but we got to be a little bit careful because it's a slippery slope between saying like, hey, don't do anything for somebody else, while also realizing that if you don't do things for somebody else, you should also expect to have a certain reaction made toward you because of the way you look, sound, act, or carry yourself. Great video. Obviously, I'm gonna be doing a lot more reacts, and you're gonna learn with me. I guarantee you, I'm gonna have an end card, title card, logo, song, all that stuff. My wife, she's a director at a design company. She said she's gonna help me get my weight up. I love her to death, and hopefully, I can make some more quality videos and some more content that get you guys where you need to be. One.
And it's so loud. And also, it's like,